This is Weekly Woman by Jubilance for PMS.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. Okay, so we kind of start off with some more like softball, easy questions. What is your favorite show that you binged during COVID?
Bridgerton.
Definitely Bridgerton.
Definitely. Hands down. No questions.
Yeah, I watched it with my mom. I watched it with Alexa. I watched it with multiple friends. I think I've seen it at least 30 times.
Literally. It's like one of those things where it's like, I could find a new show or I could watch Bridgerton.
Right.
So.
Right. It's definitely become the comfort show of COVID.
Yeah.
Because I think with the period piece, it just makes you feel like you're not here.
Yep.
Like, no one's wearing masks. Everyone's wearing these great dresses.
Yeah. Plus Renee is so hot.
Right.
Yes.
Right. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I've only watched it once, but now I'm inspired. I need to watch it like now.
Yeah. I think especially you would love it with all of the costumes.
Oh, it's great.
And with the accents. Like,
it's everything.
It's everything.
Yeah, those are the snacks that I want, like all of those period foods. Can I my pantry?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, maybe we could do a Bridgerton collection for the second season.
Oh my God.
Some snacks.
Definitely.
Don't even tempt me. Yeah. Can you talk about a favorite story from a trip you've taken, like before COVID?
Yeah. It's so hard because I feel like the concept of a trip is so foreign to me now. So let me think. Last year I took a little trip with my family, and we just spent about a week at a beach house. So it's nice to be all together and get to see everyone and feel somewhat normal and just connect with my family because I hadn't seen them in a while. So that's really my favorite memory from a recent trip.
Yeah, I took a trip I went to Amsterdam for the first time last year with actually one of our other really good friends who worked with us at Naturopathica from when we were working there together. And it was just like very spontaneous, very last minute. And we kind of just like went with the flow, and we had just the best time. And it was like, I just remember like walking around and like really like feeling, it was like a very pivotal time in my life. And I just remember like at one point I like grabbed her and I was like, I can like literally like feel like the joy like in my heart. Like, so it was so powerful. I was just like so happy. And I just like grabbed her and I was like, I'm overwhelmed by the amount of joy I feel right now. And it was like in November of last year. So it was like the last trip I took before COVID happened, like the last real international trip I took before COVID. So it was great. I'm glad I got to have that trip, but yeah, times have definitely changed. There's still moments like that, but they're a little few and far between.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're trying to figure out where we should go when this is over.
Yeah. We're planning lots of trips.
Yeah. Okay. Where's the first place you would go?
I know. We were talking maybe Berlin.
Yeah.
We were talking.
We've been talking about Copenhagen.
Yeah, Copenhagen.
Japan.
Yeah.
Japan is definitely, I don't know, that might actually be the first place. It depends though. It depends on when the world reopens. I became a British citizen during COVID because my mom was born there. I finally made her get her British passport, and so that I could get mine.
That is so cool.
So now I can go whenever, and I'm like, maybe we'll just go there at any point in time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow. And can you talk about where you guys are living now?
Yeah, we're both in Brooklyn now, in Alexa's apartment currently. So I live in Bed-Stuy.
And I'm in right on the border of East Williamsburg and Bushwick. So like right near Roberta's actually.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Great. And what's your favorite part about Brooklyn? Do you guys have a favorite restaurant? I know you're both foodies.
Ooh, yeah.
My favorite restaurant in Brooklyn, probably I love Soto Casa in Boerum Hill. They have my favorite pizza. But my favorite restaurant in the city's got to be Loring Place in the West Village. Just Alice, you already know I'm obsessed with that place. I don't need any excuse to go there. What I love about Brooklyn is that it's so open. Like I love the trees. I love the friendliness of the people. I love the slower pace. For me, it's a good balance because I love living in New York, but living in Manhattan is really not my speed. So it's good to be able to come home to Brooklyn.
Yeah, I actually moved back to the city in December of last year, of 2019, not 2020. And so it's interesting because it changed a lot in the 3 years that I was gone, but I knew that I wanted to move back to Brooklyn. I just love, the openness of it, it's like a very, like the buildings are shorter, so it just feels like
you see more sky,
easier.
yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, definitely in my neighborhood, the restaurant that I probably frequent the most is Roberta's. And it's like delicious. But I don't know. I feel like I haven't gotten to explore it as much as I would have because of the pandemic. But in Manhattan, one of my favorite restaurants closed because of a bunch of Me Too drama, which was the Spotted Pig, which is a really great
The
tavern.
Spotted Pig closed?
Yeah. Well, it was embroiled in in a lot of scandal.
What? Okay,
because of Mario Batali, and it was, Google it. It's a lot. And then they had some chefs that went in. It was not, the quality went down, but it was always a great vibe in there. And then I don't know, I just haven't really figured out my new favorite spot yet, but I'm a creature of habit now. I used to be I have to go to the best new restaurant, and now I just love to find a cozy place where I feel comfortable. So I end up going this year, the place that I've gone to the most is actually the Standard East Village, the Standard Cafe, is my jam. I find a corner booth and I just or a corner table, and I'm just sit there for hours. And whether they've had outdoor dining only or they open indoor dining periodically, it's really great and lovely there, and they know me, and it's my spot.
That's so nice. That's so good to have that feeling and that familiarity with people.
Yeah, especially these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all cozy. How can, yeah.
Yeah. And can you guys talk a little bit about your food journey and coming to Zippy? So you guys have had very different backgrounds. Ericka and Alexa, you both worked in the beauty industry. Can you talk a little bit about that transition?
Sure.
Yeah. So for me, I think my food journey started, with my family, and I come from a lot of bakers and a lot of home cooks, and so was always around food. Always had every time I would go over to my Nana's house, there would always be food, and she would always offer dinner, and there was just always delicious food. And so I started baking from a really young age, and did that a lot, especially with my aunt. And but then when I went off to college, then I was on the dining plan and going to good old Leo's, and was just not feeling the best after just eating dining hall food, and lived on this amazing floor where a lot of people love to cook, and a lot of people were teaching me, because I had really been baking up until that point. And so that's when I really got into making more meals for myself, and also entertaining and hosting and being able to share food with people. And so I think that's what I love the most about making food, is sharing it with my friends, sharing with my family. And then, once I graduated, ended up working in the beauty industry, was at L'Oreal for a bit, and really loved the ethos of making people feel good, and making it easy for people to take moments for themselves. And at that point in the industry, we were seeing this shift in beauty, going towards a more holistic wellness approach that involved supplements, but also just involved food. And so just starting to see this overlap between food and beauty and health and wellness. And so was at a smaller, more holistic health company for a while. And I think that just started further cementing this different kind of attachment to food.
Yeah, exactly. And that was where we met, but I'll kind of go back a little
Yeah.
bit for me. I grew up in a similar environment where I was just surrounded by food all the time. You know, my parents, my mom was, you know, half English, but half Ukrainian, which meant there were always like really rich, you know, meals around, whether it was halupchi or pierogi. And my dad was half Irish, half Italian. So there was always pasta and meatballs. And like, so no matter what, like we were always, there was always like a lot of food. And my parents were kind of like they were the matriarch and the patriarch of the family. So every holiday was at our house. And my mom was like such a homemaker. So we always were, you know, she was always baking, and she was also a school teacher. So, you know, there was always like, it was almost like she took that on as like a project. And so there was like, she would be making stuff for others, but also she was always receiving like extra like cookies as like gifts. And so there was just like always food around. And for me, eventually it actually became a little bit problematic. And I actually like, and when I got to Georgetown and there was just food available all the time, I actually like struggled with like eating and like had like experienced eating disordered behaviors. And still like, it's not something that like ever goes away. And I had to actually like, you know, it's something that I actually had to really start to think about like, okay, like I cannot like necessarily like, you know, I don't necessarily have to live the way that my family like lived, and like food doesn't need to have the same, like food can have, I can like kind of carve out my own relationship with food. And it was definitely like a real struggle for me for a while, like what is my relationship with food? And I had to like really define it for myself. And like, I don't have to necessarily like the same things that my family likes. And so my relationship with food got really tumultuous for a while. And I didn't necessarily like, you know, the same things that my parents liked. And I didn't love cooking, and I didn't love baking and all of that. And so it was weird because that was the stuff that I grew up around. But I really loved like snacking, and I really loved, you know, eating smaller meals. And so I had to really figure out like, okay, that's something that's like not intuitive for my family. And like, how do I marry these two things, but like make my parents feel like comfortable with that? And so it was definitely a process. And then, you know, eventually, like after figuring it out for myself, and it's definitely still like a journey, and it never kind of goes away, but you know, you learn and you work really hard at it. I entered adulthood and I sort of figured out what works for me. And I ended up in the beauty industry as well. And, you know, the beauty industry, I think, as Ericka said, started to really have a lot of overlap with food. And I found that to be actually really comforting, the fact that like beauty and food were intertwined, because I always felt like for me, like beauty, like especially when it came to my skin, like there was always like, no matter what creams I put on, it was always what I ate and how I was sleeping and my mental health. That was what was showing up on my face. It wasn't, no matter what cream I put on or the
serum.
Like it wasn't any of that. And what was like, the amount of concealer I needed was determined by what I was eating or how I was sleeping. So that was, you know, as you know, this wellness movement came to be more predominant, I was really responding to that. And I worked for Lotus, and then I worked for Unilever for a while for some of these bigger brands. And when it was sort of like the emergence of clean beauty and sort of this larger wellness movement came about, I actually left. I started my own consulting business, and then I started consulting for Naturopathica, which is where we met. And it was, you know, there that we were just seeing this trend, you know, become more than a trend and become sort of a way of life for a lot of people, and seeing this opportunity become even bigger. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. And how did that translate into Zippy? And what actually is Zippy Pantry, so all our listeners can learn about it?
Yeah. So Zippy Pantry is an online marketplace that has emerging brands, and is really supposed to be an antidote to all of the conversations and the anxiety that people can have around food. So we want the experience to be fun and inclusive and accessible and really bright. so that everyone who, who visits the site can find a snack or, a pantry staple or a new beverage to try that they like, and really feel joy around eating and joy around discovering these new brands.
Yeah. So what we found is that the wellness industry can actually be really stressful, and healthy eating can be really overwhelming, and it can be really hard to figure out what are the right products for me, what's the right diet for me. And diet culture has just become really confusing, and also very whitewashed, and very sort of like one note, and can feel very exclusive. And we wanted to just blow all of that up and make it feel way more inclusive, very welcoming and inviting, no matter where you are in your journey, in terms of health, wellness, or healthy eating, to, for everyone who, if you like to cook, if you don't like to cook, if you are new to healthy eating, or if you've been eating healthily for years, and no matter how you define it. So some people define it based off of certain dietary needs. Some people define it based off of the allergies that they have. Some people define it just based off of the foods they like. And so we wanted it to be, however you define what healthy means to you. Now we have a certain set of ingredient standards, and then we have a certain set of packaging standards, because not only do we want our products to be healthy for people, but we want them to be protective of the planet, and we want them to be, at least rooted in ideals of or goals for sustainability. Now that's not necessarily completely possible right now, but there is, a sustainability journey for all of our products, so that we are kind of protecting the planet. So we definitely try to uphold those goals, but we don't enforce them upon people. And that's the difference with Zippy. Whereas when you look at some of these other sites, it can feel pretty intimidating. And that elicits feelings of guilt or shame or fear. And that's not what we're about. We're about fun and joy, and really making healthy accessible and enjoyable.
And I find that really fun about your website too. It's really easy to search, like I'm gluten-free, so I can press the little button and see all of the snacks and pantry items that I can eat, which is really fun. But like all of those different options that you have of vegan, I don't know the other ones because I need to eat more healthy snacks.
But it's true. Like and if you're all of those things, like, right, you can be gluten-free, paleo, vegan, and you can filter by, like, you can select all of those filters simultaneously, and it'll show you what we have. But we also, our assortment is pretty tight, because we're very selective in terms of the brands. We only support emerging brands, and none of our brands are really available at a national scale yet, because we really want to be a launch pad for our brands. We invite them onto Zippy, and in the hopes that they'll get picked up by a Whole Foods or a Kroger, and they'll be seen by them, and then they will end up at a more national distribution level, but that they'll be on Zippy first, and that people will find them and love them. We want to support our brands. We provide them with guidance when people give us feedback. We have really strong relationships with our founders, and that's another big part of what we do. An important aspect is this idea of community. And we didn't even really talk about that, because what we are is first and foremost a marketplace, but even bigger than that is this idea of a community. We select every product based off of a vetting process that we go through, but also we have a community of our taste buds who are our taste testers. They are, a group of, they're dietitians, they're foodies, they're food experts, but they taste test every product. They tell us what they think. So there's this authenticity there. But then we also give feedback to the founders. So every product that you see on the site has been really thoughtfully chosen, and also to fit certain dietary needs. So, we try to have a really balanced assortment, and it's not, driven by newness. We don't bring on hundreds of new products all the time. It's a tight assortment, and we don't have a ton of products that you'll find elsewhere. You can really only find them in certain places.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of pulp chips before, or captain chips. It's very exciting. How do you Like, what is the strangest product that you've tested or tried?
Oh man. I don't know, maybe like the nemi
the amaranth cactus.
The amaranth cactus sticks. Those were interesting. They're really these crispy cactus sticks. They're really good. My favorite product that's not that weird, but they're mind-blowingly good we have these cactus chips that you would not believe that they're cactus.
Yeah.
But these Chia Lupita cactus chips, they're not that weird though. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
They're that's like the best weird product, because they're cactus chips and you would not believe.
Yeah, I think the strangest thing I tried was we have this fish jerky, and I'd never seen or heard of fish jerky before, but I really like seafood a lot.
You know what I bet people would think is weird, but we don't think it's that weird anymore, is mushroom jerky. Oh my God.
It's so good.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's sold out everywhere, so we don't even have it on the site anymore.
Right now, but
oh my God, because they were on Shark Tank, Pan's mushroom jerky. It is literally my favorite thing in the world now. It's so good.
It's so good. And it tastes so much like meat. And I'm not a huge meat eater, and so I'm not a big jerky fan, but I can finish a bag of that in 5 minutes. It's so good.
Yeah, we've got some cool jerkies.
So good.
Kelp jerky. Another one.
Yeah.
Well, that's
jerky. It's what's for dinner.
Yeah.
Great. I'll have to try that sometime when it's back in stock.
Yeah, we'll send an email about it.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, when it's back in stock, you'll hear about it.
Yeah.
Great. And why should people shop at Zippy?
Yeah, I feel like there's a few reasons. I think, first of all, to support emerging brands and to support I think this idea of building a community that is for people, by people, and supporting actual individuals behind these brands and their stories. This isn't big business. This isn't venture backed. These are people who are actually trying to solve problems. They care about the products that they are putting out there. And a lot of them, we have, 25% of our brands are founded by people of color, 25% of them, or I think it's more than that now. What is it? 30% people of color, 25% are made from upcycled ingredients, meaning ingredients that would have been thrown into the trash that they are repurposing and turning into product. Over 70% are female founded. These are real people, real stories behind these brands. And they, we're giving them a shot at increased exposure, and we're giving them real feedback. We are just, we're committed to the community around us. We are highly, highly engaged with the groups in Brooklyn who are supporting local food systems. This is not a multinational organization. We are real people and we care about real people. So that's reason number one.
Yeah.
What else did you say?
Yeah. What else would I say? I think those are, that's exactly what, what I was thinking too, is that just they're real people who are so passionate about food. And I think that every couple of years or so, scandals come out about big food. And it's these are our founders who aren't taking shortcuts, who really do want to make healthy eating more enjoyable, that really want to introduce or foster real food, and make connections with people. And so I think that it's that personal touch that really makes Zippy different, and just knowing that you're supporting individuals. And I think that we've seen with COVID that small businesses have been so negatively affected, and people are looking to shop small and looking to to support their communities more. And so this is a perfect way to do that.
I think the other thing is that when you reach out to anyone at Zippy, you're getting our team is 4 people. We're all women. You're getting one of us, and you're going to get one of us reaching out to one of the founders, and you're going to get an answer from one of us instantly. You're getting real answers from real people who really care. So I think there's this level of high touch service and thoughtfulness that you're not going to get elsewhere. And it's because of the pride that we take in what we're doing. But also this element of we actually we do want this to be a community, and we do want this to be something that where you can feel like you're a part of that community. And so anytime you engage with this brand, like we want it to feel like you want to keep engaging. And so every interaction we hope to make meaningful.
That's amazing. And how can people find out about Zippy, and how can they see all the pantry foods that they need to eat?
Yeah, they can absolutely check out zippypantry.com. That's our website, where you can see all the snacks. You can sign up for our email list, our newsletter, to get the latest on what we're doing, new launches, founder stories, ingredient spotlights, all of that good stuff. Or follow us on Instagram at Zippy Pantry.
And we also have a Spotify channel where you can hear our favorite tunes. It's Zippy Pantry or Zippy Pantry Radio. And you can also soon find us on TikTok. We're going to be testing that out soon.
Yeah.
But as E said, zippypantry.com and at Zippy Pantry on Instagram are our main channels. And we really take pride in our content. We have a lot of fun making it.
Yeah.
It's highly unpolished, but that's what makes it real.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It was great to get to talk to you both.